Hello, my name is Tayo Afawape, and I am the Director of Administration and Compliance with the Community Development Administration. I am also here with Justin Jackson, who is our Executive Director. Thank you for joining today's training series for our 2023 Community Development Block Grant Funding Cycle. The mission of Community Development Administration, or CDA, is to promote neighborhood growth and stabilization through community development and the production of new and rehabilitated housing, especially for low and moderate income persons. Through competitive and transparent funding cycles, CDA's non-housing RFP solicits quality proposals for community and economic development. To assist applicants, CDA periodically holds training sessions, such as these, to assist in the development of successful proposals. Today begins the first of several training sessions we will conduct throughout this week. The schedule for this week is as follows. Monday, July 25th, we will conduct a training on our EGrAMs system, which is an electric grant management system for our non-housing RFP that applicants must use to submit their proposals and track their activity. We will also provide an overview of the RFP application that will be posted tomorrow. Tuesday, in our organizational requirements workshop, we will cover programmatic elements needed to operate a CDBG funded program. While on Wednesday, CDA's fiscal section will cover the fiscal obligations required. Our last day of training consists of 2 capacity building workshops. We will first cover eligibility requirements, which will help organizations determine if proposed projects are eligible for CDBG funding. We will conclude the training series with our best practice workshop, which will discuss best practices to implement when completing the RFP. All training materials can be found on the CDA website. We will post each workshop online immediately following its completion. We encourage you to periodically check this website for news and updates. EGrAMs is a web-based application used as a grant management system by CDA. We have used EGrAMs for 8 years, so it has been well integrated into our annual process of submitting, grading, evaluating, and recommending proposals during our funding cycle. Other uses include allowing prospective applicants to search for existing CDA grant opportunities and being able to apply for CDA funding. Once you have submitted your application, you can also review your funding status online. Should you be awarded CDBG funding, you can also review your contract status, update contract information, and submit programmatic and financial reports. All of these features can be done online. EGrAMs is accessible through www.cdagrants.com. If you need technical support on the EGrAMs system, please email egrams.support@stlewis-mo.gov. Please note that questions pertaining to EGrAMs only may be submitted up to noon on August 26th of 2022. The reason for this deadline is because the RFP, which will be released tomorrow, is also due on August 26th, but at 4 p.m. Once the RFP is released, I strongly encourage you to immediately familiarize yourself with EGrAMs. Set up an account, and if you're new to EGrAMs, and log in to get acclimated to the system. I say this because it isn't the most user-friendly program. It may take a new applicant several hours to feel comfortable navigating through it. As I will emphasize in the upcoming EGrAMs training video, I highly recommend to start entering information into EGrAMs early so that if there are any technical difficulties difficulties, you can contact EGrAMs support to submit your proposal in a timely fashion. The EGrAMs instructional video provides an overview of how to navigate through EGrAMs. It is now posted on the CDA website, and I have included the link in the first bullet point. Please note that at the beginning of the video, I talk about how you can access more detailed slides about EGrAMs. These slides talk about the 7 steps to follow for CDBG application submission. The link to those slides can also be found on the second bullet point. And these are the additional slides that I reference. Now I will start the EGrAMs website walkthrough video.
Hello, my name is Tayo Apawape, and I am a Community Development Supervisor. Today, I'll be going over how to submit your application to CDA via EGrAMs. All applications must be submitted through EGrAMs. Any alternatives, including written, emailed, or fax copies of the application, will not be accepted. The simplest way to access the EGrAMs presentation slides are to go to the City of St. Louis website, which is www.stlouis-mo.gov. Under the search field, type in 2017 CDA EGrAMs. Click on the option that says CDA EGrAMs Overview and Applications. Then click on 2017 EGrAMs Presentation. These EGrAMs slides provide very detailed instructions. I encourage users to follow them as they prepare the application. If you do not have the slides in front of you, please make note of the slides that I will reference throughout this presentation. For the sake of time, I will only highlight certain slides. To access EGrAMs, go to cdagrants.com. As a caveat, I will be using a test version of EGrAMs. This test site, however, is similar to what the user will be viewing. I will first refer to slide 4, which is called Validate Workstation. Once users are on the EGrAMs website, they should validate their workstation to ensure they have the minimum software and hardware requirements. Click on Validate. Wait to see 3 green check marks. These check marks indicate that JavaScript and pop-ups are enabled and that the user is operating under a supported browser. Slide 5 refers to registration to submission, 7 easy steps. This slide talks about the 7 steps needed to submit the application, which are: number 1, register your agency, if a new agency. Number 2, create a user profile if you are a new user. Number 3, start a new application. Number 4, assign agency users if multiple persons will be assigned to enter different sections of the application. Number 5, enter edit application. This step would be performed when first inputting information into or revising the application. Number 6, validate grant application to ensure the user populates all fields and that certain data points are consistently entered. And number 7, print submission. submit application, to print a final version of the application for the agency's records, and to submit the application electronically to CDA. Slides 6 through 9 refers to step 1, called Register Your Agency. The user will need to register the agency if you have not already done so. To register or to check if the agency needs to register, click on Register Your Agency. Users will first see a pop-up box requesting them to enter the agency's federal ID number and agency name. Let us ignore that for a second and click on the ellipses to check if the agency is already registered. The ellipses box populates a lookup box. This is a common feature of EGrAMs. When there's a large list to scroll through, the user can use the arrows to move forward or backward a page. Or use the double arrows to go forward or go to the first or last page. For easier lookup, the user can also type in a keyword preceded and followed by a percent sign. For example, if my organization is called XYZ organization, next to the description box, I could type in $XYZ and click lookup to display organizations with the word XYZ. Since I am in the system, I would skip this step. However, let me assume that I am not in the system. I would then need to complete at least all fields marked with an asterisk. There are several fields on the screen I would like to emphasize. The first field being the federal ID number. The user cannot change the federal ID number once saved, so make sure it is correct. Secondly, after I input the state and the zip code, the code lookup box will populate all of the counties within Missouri. Everything is in alphabetical order except for St. Louis City, which is the last option. For faster lookup, you can also type in the code 510, which stands for St. Louis City. Slide 11 refers to step 2, create a user profile. Users must complete this step if they do not have a user profile. The pop-up box indicates that a user profile cannot be created if the agency has not registered. The user who will be responsible for creating the application must be designated as the project director. Clear this out. So we get a screen identical to what you will be seeing. And let's click on designation title. Okay. The project director is the owner of the application and can assign other users to complete different sections of the application. I will later discuss why the project director may want to do this. Like before, on the previous screen, the user at least must enter text in fields marked with an asterisk. One feature of this page I would like to emphasize is the button at the bottom of the screen called Show Security. Frequently, at the final hour, we get distressed emails saying a user has been locked out. To prevent this from happening, users should, 1, select security questions that they can respond to should they get locked out. 2, write down the username and password and put it in a discrete place. Or 3, save the username and password to the computer. After creating a user profile, log into the system by clicking on EGrAMs login. I am now referring to slide number 14. After creating a user profile, I just clicked on EGrAMs login and notice that my username and password is auto-populated because I saved it to my computer so that I will not get locked out of EGrAMs. The next slide I would like to highlight is slide 16, step 3, start a new application. To start an application, once I am logged in, I can go to Project Director, start a new application. To add a new application, make sure the Add button is highlighted. Under the grant program, my test site is using information for the previous grant year, and therefore I have the option of CDBG 21. Your screen will populate the option that is appropriate for you. I will next type in the project number and the project title. This is also the screen where users can change, delete, or review the application. In this example, XYZ organization is applying for 2 grants. I had already previously entered in another grant application. To review the grants that are currently active, click on Review, click on Find. The screen now populates both of the applications, XYZ project and ABC project. It is crucial that the project director is the one who creates the application because it allows for him or her to assign users to work on the application. But why would a project director opt to divvy up portions of the application to other users? A project director may, for instance, grant access to the fiscal head to input budget information, the program supervisor to input details about the proposed activity, and the project director may want to respond to broader questions concerning the agency's mission and overall capacity. Slides discussing in depth the project director's role can be found on slides 13 and 16 through 22. Next, I'll refer to slide 20, which talks about step 4, assigning agency users. To assign agency users, go to Project Director, Assign Agency Users. Click on the Find button. And then click on the Assign button. In this instance, there are 2 users, which are me and Jane Doe, who are assigned to both ABC project and XYZ project. But remember, an agency is not required to have additional users besides the project director. But if the project director recruits multiple users, this is a spot where the project director can go to ensure that all users have correctly created a user profile. Let's go to slides 23 through 29 that talk about step 5, enter edit application. To enter edit application, go to grant application, enter edit application. Notice I have both my projects. One is work in progress, while one is still pending. I'll click on the ABC project. These slides, 23 through 29, discuss in depth the enter edit applications. And notice EGrAMs thoughtfully reminds us when the submission deadline is. Here are 5 tips when utilizing this screen. Tip number 1, the show documents hyperlink may or may not contain updated capacity building documents. Notice it's not working. However, if they're not updated or not working, users can retrieve the most current documents on the CDA website, which will be posted no later than the completion of the virtual capacity building sessions. By the way, I strongly encourage staff to attend all of these virtual capacity building sessions for further instruction about the application process. Tip number 2, EGrAMs provides a number of ways to navigate across the tabs. I have found the easiest way to navigate is to click on the desired tab, click on Show Tree in order to view the tab's subsections, then select the desired subsection and click on OK. If users want to go to the next page or previous page, click on the arrows. If a tab is grayed out and a user cannot click on it, it is because the project director did not grant the user access to it. If this is unintentional, go to your project director to rectify the situation. Tip number 3, EGrAMs allows users to cut and paste from the previous applications through the copy button. However, I recommend that they type in responses into a word processing software such as Microsoft Word and cut and paste the responses from the Word document into EGrAMs so that they can readily utilize the information for the next funding cycle. Tip number 4. Although not reflected on this test site, new this year, there will be a section dedicated to questions about proposed activities involving construction. Public facilities and improvements are 2 eligible CDBG activities that involve construction. For more information about public facilities and improvements, stay tuned to the organizational requirements training session that will go more in depth about construction projects. This training will start on Tuesday, 27th at 10 a.m. Tip number 5. Slide 38 talks about entering data into the proposed budget. I strongly encourage users to explain each line item by clicking on the narrative box to describe what each expense will be used for. So for example, if for local travel costs, I state that they will, the agency will spend $1,500 on gas. The narrative, I will explain. Case managers will utilize personal vehicles to check on their client. Click on OK. And let's click on Save. And then if I click on the PDF button, it creates a preview of the section the user is editing. So as you can see, the local travel expenses, 1500 is populated, as well as the narrative. Slide 40 refers to step 6 of this process, validating the grant application. After entering the application into EGrAMs, check that your application is free from errors. As highlighted on slide 40, 2 important suggestions are that users should validate each section upon completion and allow themselves several days, not hours nor minutes, to validate the application. EGrAMs within CDA is affectionately called ERRORgrams because it seems like the more data you enter, the more error messages you receive. So again, validating each section allows users to better manage coping with the error messages. For example, let's say that the section I am currently on is complete. Notice that the error button is grayed out. I've already clicked on Save, and now I next would click on Validate. Notice when I click on Validate, the error button becomes active. And I get a dialog box that details the errors. Also notice that the errors are outlined in red. Show it here. Let me go to another example where I can show that to you. Click on Save, click on Validate. Button appears, click on OK. And notice this is an example where you can hover over the over the red boxes in order to tell me what the error is. I can also click on the error button and select the error, and EGrAMs will direct me to the errors. Once you have fixed the errors, you rinse and repeat. Click Save, Validate, Fix Errors until you have no more errors. Slide 41 refers to the 7th or last step called Print, Submit Application. Assuming that I have validated each section, I next would want to print the application for my records and submit it to CDA. I do this by first closing out of this screen, click on Grant Application, Print, Submit Application. And then I would click on the hyperlink. I was working on ABC project. Now I have just discussed how users need to validate each section of the application to minimize errors. This is now the time to validate the entire application. If there are still any errors, EGrAMs will notify the user. Correcting the errors would be similar to what I just described. One key difference is that I would strongly suggest that users print out the error messages. So let me click on validate. It's stating I have errors. Let's see. Click on view errors. And I would create a PDF preview of all the errors, and I would print out the screen. After printing out the screen, I would close this out, go back into grant application, enter edit application, click on the project that I'm working on, and start tackling those error messages. So slides 42, 43 discuss how users can create a PDF to print the application. So let me go back into print submit. Clicking on the left icon allows a user to preview the application and uploaded documents attached to the application. Clicking on the right icon, however, only allows the user to preview the application without the uploaded attachments. Now, I'm actually going to exit out of here very quickly and go to this one instead, because this it was the XYZ project in which I had uploaded an attachment. I recommend clicking on the left icon to preview the totality of the application. Notice, in this example, I have already attached the 501c3 letter. And I can click on the hyperlink to view it. I can also view all the uploaded attachments at the end of the application. So page 21, that signals the end of the application. And notice the uploaded attachment is there as well. Slides 44 through 45 talk about submitting your application. You cannot submit an application with errors. For example, if I try clicking submit, it tells me I have errors, so it will not let me submit the application. In the past, many agencies have reached this point in the application process at the final hour, but because they cannot resolve the errors in time, they fail to submit the application. Please do not be one of these agencies. Not only start the application process early, but also start the validation process early as well. That way, if you need assistance in resolving errors, you will have ample time to resolve them and submit the application in a timely fashion So again, please start this process early. I have highlighted the key slides on how to follow the 7 steps to submit the grant application. I will now review some other helpful tools. Slides 47 through 48 go over how to edit user profile. Slide 49 talks about how to edit the agency profile. To do that, I would go to Administration, Agency Information. Make sure to click on Change and Find before making any revisions. Note, I cannot change the federal ID number because it is grayed out. This is why it is important that users enter the correct number when they register their agency. Slide 50 talks about what to do if you forget your password. So I'm going to log out and go to EGrAMs login. So let's say I forgot my password. Click on Forget Password. You would type in the username and automatically populates, or will, not populate, but prompt users to answer the security questions in order to create a new password. Remember that you should have already created your security questions when you created your user profile. Slide 51 talks about changing your password. The easiest way to change your password is to click on Change Password and typing in the new password. However, if you forget your password and did not appropriately store it, after 3 failed attempts, your users will be locked out of EGrAMs. That is why it is crucial to have other mechanisms in place to retrieve your password, which are, I'll repeat, utilizing security questions, which we have just covered, writing it down and saving it in a discrete place, or saving the password onto your computer. In summary, number 1, start creating your application early. Number 2, remember your username and password by creating security questions, writing them down, or saving them onto your computer. Number 3, the project director starts the application process. Number 4, the project director is responsible for assigning multiple users to work on different parts of the application. The project director can also input the entire application without assistance. Number 5, from the narrative section of the application, text may be copied and pasted from a Word document. However, your budget sections will need to be manually entered. Number 6, save and validate each section before you validate the entire application. Number 7, start the validation process early. If you encounter any problems, my first suggestion is to review the slides and this presentation again. If that does not help, number 2, reach out to your project director because the project director may not have granted you access. If that still doesn't work, then email the CDA help desk at egrams support@stlewis-mo.gov. You must email the CDA help desk no later than 12 p.m. on the date of the application, 12 p.m. on the due date of the application. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time.
I know I covered a lot of ground in the EGrAMs presentation, but fortunately it's already posted on the CDA website so that you can review it at your leisure. The EGrAMs tutorial was created in 2021 and referenced obsolete capacity building training dates. Please note that all training dates and times mentioned at the beginning of the presentation are the most up to date. Secondly, I mentioned several ways to deal with being locked out of EGrAMs. Here is another tip. If you get locked out because you used the wrong password, but then remembered the correct password, wait a half hour and try logging back in with the correct password. So this concludes the EGrAMs training presentation. Are there any questions? So it looks like I'm seeing one question. So one question is, what is the federal ID? Is it your EIN number? Yes, it is the EIN number. They are one and the same. And I believe those are, oh, wait, there's another question. Under agency type on the application, I only saw the option for nonprofit or governmental. Are these the only companies that can apply? Yes. So this RFP is only available to nonprofit or governmental entities. Another question. I'm getting a message that our agency is already registered, but the login doesn't work. So that could be an issue that the person logging in may not, if the person is new, that person would have to register as a user first before logging into the system. That might be the problem. If it's something else, if you also email the EGrAMs support, email EGrAMs support, I can also see if it's something, if it's like a quirk or something like that. But I believe based upon your question, that person would have to first register before logging in. Okay. Another question is, where on the website is the recording of the training? So I can walk through that. So go to, and I will copy and paste this onto the chat. How do we get our login information? So if you have already, you would first have to, if you are already registered as an agency, then you would have to then log in as a user, and then you create your login information. So it would be the user that would create their login information. I hope I answered that question. If not, please follow up or clarify. So next, I will provide a general overview of the RFP that will be released tomorrow. The CDBG program, administered by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, provides funds to municipalities, such as the City of St. Louis, and other units of government around the country to develop viable urban communities. As an entitlement community under the CDBG program, the City of St. Louis receives an annual allocation to fund activities that provide affordable, decent housing, create suitable living environments, and expand economic opportunities, principally for low and moderate income persons. To be eligible, the CDBG funded activity must meet one or more national objectives as required by HUD. The activity must principally benefit low and moderate income persons. Persons who are within this income bracket are persons who make up to 80% of the area median income based upon family or household size. Or the activity must prevent or eliminate slums or blight. Usually, areas characterized as a slum or being blighted is defined as such through a blighting study or an ordinance. Or the activity must address an urgent need or problem in the community, such as a natural disaster. Please note that this national objective is rarely used and is not applicable for this RFP. Meeting one of these national objectives is critical. No matter how thoroughly researched, well-intentioned your proposal program may be, if it does not fit one of these national objectives, CDA cannot fund it. So I've covered CDBG basics, and now we'll shift my attention over to the RFP. The RFP will be available to download on the CDA website tomorrow on Tuesday, July 26th. You'll be given 30 days to complete the RFP. It is due on August 26th at 4 p.m. and it must be submitted online in EGrAMs. No late applications will be accepted. This RFP is for nonprofits or municipal entities proposing to conduct non-housing activities. Developers and other businesses seeking to construct new housing should apply for a separate competitive funding cycle called a Notice of Funding Availability, or NOFA. The NOFA is administered by another section with the CDA called the Housing Production. The Housing Production section had their last NOFA last spring. Please frequently check our website for any upcoming NOFAs if interested. The geographic target area are designated Neighborhood Revitalization Strategy Areas, or NARSAs. These areas have been approved or proposed to HUD as areas needing additional economic development. Your proposal does not necessarily have to impact these areas, but if they do, you may be allowed additional flexibilities based upon the activity you apply for. There are two types of questions you can submit. There are questions that relate to the funding process and RFP content. And there are other questions that pertain to navigating through EGrAMs. So questions pertaining to proposal forms, supporting documentation, and funding process must be submitted by 4 p.m. on August 12th to cdbg@stlewis-mo.gov. These types of questions will be responded to on the CDA website under Frequently Asked Questions and Answers. On the other hand, questions pertaining to the EGrAM system must be submitted by 12 p.m. on August 26th to EGrAMsupport@stlewis-mo.gov. These questions will be responded to directly through your email. All questions must be directed to one of these two email addresses. No questions will be taken or answered by phone or by direct contact with CDA staff. Unfortunately, there is no wiggle room on the deadline and format of the RFP. Only applications submitted via EGrAMs will be accepted. Faxed, emailed, or handwritten applications will not be reviewed. Any proposals submitted after 4 p.m. on August 26 will also not be reviewed. We are unable to provide any exceptions. As emphasized in the EGrAMs walkthrough video, please allow sufficient time to prepare the application, ensuring timely submission. This concludes the CDBG RFP workshop. Please note that our Thursday's best practice presentation will go into depth about the RFP. Are there any questions? And I am not seeing any questions. I'll wait another minute just to make sure. Okay. So one question is, who can I contact about the NOFA under the housing production arm? You can actually contact, I would believe, Bill Rata. I don't here. I can provide you his email address. So I provided Bill Rata's email address on the chat. How do we sign up for the Thursday session? It's on our CDA website. I can get, oh, I'm getting a message saying that the chat is disabled. Andre, is that something that you can assist with?
One moment, let me see.
Okay, thank you. And while Andre's working on that, one second. So while Andre's working on that, I can show you guys where you can sign up for the other meetings or workshops. So the easiest way to get to our website is going to, you type in City of St. Louis. And then if you do /CBA, this is our website. If you scroll down, you'll see 3 columns under citizen participation. There's registration for 2023 capacity building trainings. And then this is where you can sign up. And this also directs you to, when we say go to CDA website, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be on this page. And so the RFP and all the additional presentations will be posted here. Again, they will become available once each presentation is completed, and there will be a hyperlink that you can click on. I hope that answers that person's question. Let's see. And is the chat enabled? Can people see what I posted onto it?
It should be now.
Okay. And let's see. Let me see if there are any other questions. I believe those are all the questions. And so I will therefore conclude this meeting. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this day. Take care. Goodbye.